First, we go to Washington. The FBI sees no need to nuance the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The agency's Director Chris Wray called the event an act of domestic terrorism, which is being given equal priority to Islamic State and other terrorist groups. This marked his first public comments since the assault. Take a listen to what Wray said at the Senate hearing today.
We've increased the number of domestic terrorism investigations from around 1,000 or so when I got here to up to about 1,400 at the end of last year to about 2,000 now. That's domestic terrorism overall. When it comes to racially motivated violent extremism, that number, again, number of investigations and number of arrests has grown significantly on my watch. And the number of arrests, for example, of racially motivated violent extremists who are what you would categorize as white supremacists last year was almost triple the number it was in my first year as director.
Let's get more on this developing story with Bloomberg News reporter Chris Strom. Chris covers the Department of Justice. Chris, what was your biggest takeaway from today's hearing?
Well, the important thing is that this was the first time we've heard from any senior official inside government in response to the January 6th attack. And, Wray came out and gave his side of what the FBI was doing. He provided, a defense of the FBI's actions, and he laid out some of the trends and statistics that the FBI is seeing, including that, the FBI assesses that racially motivated extremism is the top terrorist threat in the U.S. right now. And within that, it's white supremacists that are the most dangerous and the most lethal. And the FBI has the most investigations, around those people. And that kind of, cuts against narratives that, former President Trump has been putting out there, that his supporters have been putting out there, that it's left-wing Antifa activists who are the most violent.
Yeah, pretty telling there in terms of that pushback against that Antifa narrative. The bottom line, Chris, is that this was a hearing into who knew what about the January 6th siege and when they knew it. And Christopher Wray was put on the defensive, really having to defend the FBI's stance, its response. What did he say about why the FBI was not better prepared for the attack?
I think it's becoming clear, and as more officials talk about this, that there was a great deal of intelligence before the attack. The Capitol Police had intelligence. The FBI collected intelligence. What Wray described was that the FBI got a glimpse of some really specific intelligence about violent acts that were going to be carried out on January 6th, and they picked that up the day before. And there was a lot of criticism that the FBI has faced for not doing enough with that intelligence. And Wray offered his best defense, saying that the FBI acted as quickly as possible and within an hour began to share that information with the Capitol Police and the D.C. Metro Police. And, Wray was basically saying that the FBI had information and passed it through to other agencies. And at that point, it's up to other agencies to be able to act on it. There's only so much that the FBI can do. And that was, what Wray was trying to get across.
Okay, so someone else dropped the ball, in other words. We did our part. It's not us. What did Wray say about the prospect of foreign extremists looking to infiltrate these different domestic terrorist groups to exploit our vulnerabilities? I know that's been a concern.
Yeah, Wray, equated domestic terrorism with foreign terrorism and said that the two are feeding off of each other. He said that the FBI is very concerned about foreign terrorists being inspired by what happened on January 6th. And he said that that the FBI is also very concerned about, people inside the U.S., U.S. citizens, being inspired by what foreign terrorists are doing. And so it's a messy mix of threats that the FBI is dealing with. And Wray, also made it clear that the motivation for people isn't very linear. That you have people now who are kind of concocting their own ideology for carrying out violence, which makes it, difficult for the FBI and other agencies to kind of get their hands around how to deal with this threat.
Yeah, it's ever evolving. Did Christopher Wray give any indication, Chris, of how far along the FBI and other law enforcement agencies are when it comes to arresting those who are directly involved in the January 6th attack?
So Wray talked about the current status of the investigation, and he said that they are now at a turning point in the investigation where they're beginning to bring more advanced charges. These are the charges dealing with conspiracy, with planning, with coordination. He said that, to date, there's been about 300 people who have been arrested, and more charges are in the works. More people are going to be arrested. And he said that, what the investigators began with was kind of the low-hanging fruit, where they got people on charges of like trespass and failure to obey, kind of the lower level charges. And now they're adding on to those charges for people who have already been charged. And they're also beginning to lay out the broader conspiracy that different groups like the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys were carrying out. And he expects more serious charges going forward.
All right. Great roundup, Chris, for what Christopher Wray told the Senate. Really appreciate your briefing us on the details.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.